Good evening, sir. It is my privilege to welcome you on our platform. Uh, CA Venu Gopal ji is a partner in Meshes Venu and Vinay Chartered Accountants, qualified in the year 2002 by securing All India rank 45. He is an active speaker at ICI on GST, especially on technology and its implementation challenges. He has authored various industry-specific handbooks on GST. He contributed to the technical guide on GST audit released by ICI and other publication materials. He conducts workshops on filing returns with ease of use of automation. He has developed a lot of Excel-based free utilities on GST like JSON Reader, creating JSON files, GST Invalidator, composition versus regular benefit analysis, GST Impact Reader, real estate project switch decision analysis, etc. He is a GST faculty for ICAI and conducted various workshops and webinars. He has co-opted to Indirect Tax Committee of ICAI 2018 and 19. Currently, he is a core committee member of FKCCI GST Wing. He advises on technology for GST implementation and integration for accounts and return filing utilities. Further, he has conducted various workshops for corporates on use of technology, improve efficiency at work using Excel, building automated reports from accounting and financial applications. He was also behind the development and managing of cloud application like TaxSmile, Insta Financials, and others. We welcome you, sir.
So, I once again welcome to Venugopal sir before this audience, and welcome to all the entire audience for today's session. And now I request Venugopal sir to please present your presentation, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It's all yours.
Yeah.
Please.
Sir, is the screen is visible? Okay. All right. So just in case if again technology failures होते रहते हैं GST में तो हम देख रहे हैं. So just in case my connection gets disconnected, someone please ping me and call me, and I would start the session. I'm firstly happy to be part of this virtual CPE session, and which is being conducted by ACE. And really good sessions. I've been watching all the sessions, and one good thing about Calcutta is like always they try to bring different faculties from different parts of the country just to share our views and different perspectives, because I know many of the speakers in Calcutta, very good, very eminent, and especially in today's topic, I can watch and tell that some of the members in the audience also are well equipped, and they're good, capable enough of speaking on this topic. All right. All the 5 days you have been dumped with a lot of different perspectives of GST, more to do with the sections, case laws, or how you have to handle, especially Jatin sir's view on the notices, Jatin Harjai on the input tax credit, different perspectives. By the today's session is more to do on the compliances, so I'm not going to talk anything on the case laws related or any of the things. I'm only talking about little intricacy, mainly on the practical aspects of it. 3 independent different topics, just merging and trying to collaborate and put it a single perspective. Feel free to put questions in between each one topic to other. I would also, we can have an interactive sessions, just 2 hours. Let's make it more lively. I know it is a dry subject because returns में कुछ अभी रखा नहीं है, कुछ बाकी नहीं है. Everything is like automated, and we've been doing it. So let's see how best we can have little detailed discussion on this new topic of new returns. Okay. So when it comes to the new returns, the concept of GSTR 1, 2, 3 chala gaya, and ANX 1, 2 was supposed to come, wo bhi chala gaya. Now GSTR 3B is like back into the main role. So जिसको हमने side role में लेकर आ गए थे, उसी main role हो गया. So what we thought will only be a temporary the thing, it has become a permanent thing, right? Now, the first and foremost thing which I would want to start the discussion on is GSTR 2B. Now, GSTR 2B is something which is a new concept along with GSTR 2A. On the same lines of GSTR 2A, GSTR 2B is also coming up, and this is GSTR 2B is what we will be now more focused on, considering 36 sub rule 4 and 16 subsection 4, where the credit time limits are restricted. The fundamental difference between 2A and 2B, we all know 2A is a dynamic statement, which means if I download a GSTR 2A today for the month of March 20 versus a GSTR 2A downloaded in March 20 is different. Like my 26 AS for the financial year 1920, if I have downloaded after April, would have been shown some value. Now I am in the process of filing my IT returns. When I am downloading now, it is showing a different value. A very simple reason, as and when the customers are filing their TDS returns, my 26 AS is updated. Likewise, as and when GSTR1 is filed, my 2A is updated. Now, when 36 sub rule 4 has been introduced with a circular also stating that the value of additional 10% to be considered on the due date of GSTR1, say that is on 11th. How will one find out a value on 11th? Because GSTR2A do not have a timestamp. So in light of that, GSTR2B came in and they said that we will make it a static based on filing of GSTR1 date. GSTR2A values come based on the GSTR filing month. GSTR2B, the values will come based on GSTR1 filing date. So, for the month of March 20, if I file a return on, say, today, say 20th or 21st November, I am filing GSTR2A of March. So, GSTR1 of March is filed on in the month of 20th November. When I am filing GSTR1 on in the month of November, the 2A will also be dated March. So 2A is a mirror replica of GSTR1. It is like bank passbook. It credited to my account, got debited to someone's account, right? However, but GSTR2B, since one is filed in this month, it would be considered in this month for the purpose of GSTR2B. So 2B is going by number of GSTR1s filed during the month. When I say the month, let us take the cutoff date of the month. Last month day returns filing date is 11th. So from the 12th of this month till 11th of next month, we'll be considering the returns which are filed in this period will be GSTR2B. Now, there is a quarterly filers. The filers who are filing quarterly, they file after 2 months, 3 months later, right? Should my credits be waiting till that? Answer is yes. Your GSTR 2B will be coming only after the GSTR 1 is filed. The problem always comes with 36 sub rule 4, where the government says that जितना क्रेडिट आपको वहां पोर्टल में दिख रहा है उससे 10% के ज्यादा आप ले नहीं सकते. Now, if I am buying all the most of my purchases are from quarterly filers, then for the first 2 months I will end up paying in cash. Last month, huge credit balance. Again, when the last month of the quarter, there is a huge credit balance. So the new jargons. Okay, now today we will start seeing these new jargons which are coming up. The government said IFF, Invoice Furnishing Facility, for the quarterly return filers. And as they said, they also said QRMP, quarterly returns monthly payment scheme. Recent circular also has come. They said, okay, I will give an invoice furnishing facility. मतलब क्या है, like GSTR1 को थोड़ा घुमा फिरा के एक नया नाम दिया गया, इनवॉइस फर्निशिंग फैसिलिटी. क्वार्टरली फाइलर्स को बोला गया आप इनवॉइसेस कंटिन्यूअसली अपलोड कर सकते हो. So based on the quarterly filings, also GSTR2B will be taken. So now they have tagged the GSTR2B to generate for 13th, so that the quarterly filers will update the returns. All these are going to come into effect from January. Government slowly bringing the compliances norms very tighter and tighter. Let's see the 2B. So for the monthly filers, it is getting generated on the 12th. If someone is filing the quarterly invoice furnishing facility, it gets generated on 14th. What does it contain? It contains the auto-populated details from GSTR1, GSTR5, GSTR6, and also it is linked from the ICE gate. ICE gate, we don't need to worry much because it's only last month. Imports made from the last month, it would be reported. Imports including SEZ purchases. When it comes to GSTR2B, they said it will be the cutoff date for GSTR2B is 11th midnight, which means at the end of the month 11th, it generates GSTR2B. So still these questions comes because ISD returns is getting filed only on 12th and 13th. So what happens to that? Ideally, they have now made it into various parts. So the parts will get frozen accordingly, and it will come into operation because this is now going to get auto-populated. So very soon we will be seeing the functionality of this. GSTR2B has mainly, we have two parts. One, claiming the input tax credit. Second, ineligible credits or credits not pertaining to you. What do you mean by credits not pertaining to you? If someone is filing a GSTR1 where the place of supply is, say, not West Bengal. Let's take a simple example. From West Bengal, you travel to Delhi and you have stayed in a hotel. The hotel person has given a credit to 2A, but the place of supply is Delhi. So those credits are not an eligible credit. So it would come as ineligible credits. Next thing, someone is making an amendment. So those amendments, adjustments will come. Next, if someone is filing their GSTR1 today for the periods 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, you may ask, abhi bhar sakte kya? Answer is yes, because GSTR9 to bharna hai. Tab tak, where the 3 years from the date of annual return, for the purpose of assessment, all these periods would be open. So if someone is filing, the data would flow to GSTR2A, but it will not be an eligible credit either for the purpose of GSTR2B or for the purpose of table 8A of GSTR9. So the cutoff dates for this 2B and 8A, it again goes by 16 subsection 4, where the time limit to furnish, which they say it is only till September of the next financial year. So those cutoff dates are considered in this. So one needs to be careful about looking at the data that is coming in. The formats of the data is here. So I'm not getting deeper into the formats. Any of this presentation would be shared, so you can look into it later on. Moving further to GSTR2A, what is the new change that has come in GSTR2A? We all know earlier, if I have to talk about earlier 2A had 3 parts, Part A, Part B, Part C. Part A used to contain the input tax credit, both reverse charge and forward charge details. Part B used to contain ISD credits. Part C used to contain TDS and TCS credits. Now they have increased the contents in the Part A, which will say when did the supplier file their GSTR1, when did the supplier file their GSTR3B. So आज की डेट में अगर आप 2A देख रहे हो You can also look at the quality of your vendors, both from the cash flow perspective or from their compliance perspective. Let's take an example that I have purchased material in the month of June 2020. Now, my GSTR 2A also it is showing in June 2020. How? The supplier, instead of filing the June return in the month of July, he is filing his return in the month of, say, November. So his return is being filed in the month of November. Now there could be two reasons: he's a quarterly filer or a monthly filer. Let's take June ka, to at least he should have got filed in July. When I am seeing in my 2A, I can notice that he is not a regular compliant SSC because June का GSTR1 वो जाके अक्टूबर में या नवंबर में भरा है. That's the first thing which you can watch for it. There could be other class of SSCs. You would always say, like today, the most of the accounting softwares are automated, and you will say that I am not going to make the payment if the credits are not visible in 2A. What would happen? The supplier will start uploading his GSTR1, but he will stop filing his payment of taxes and filing returns, against which you can also see in the 2A. My purchase was in June, return was also filed for June in the month of July, but 3B he filed it in November. So you can also know, अच्छा इसका cash flow में कुछ issues है. So the suppliers might have a cash flow issues. Not necessary that whatever I am saying is a statement of a fact, but at least an indicative statement where you can start rating your vendors, how well they are compliant and how well their cash flow or the payment of taxes regularity. This is a new facility that GSTR2A has brought in the Part A. The next thing which GSTR2A has brought in is the new part D, imports and purchases from SEZ. So whenever you are making a purchase from SEZ, all this while the credits were taken suo motu in GSTR 3B 4A1 input tax credit on account of import of goods. These were taken suo motu. Even from the purpose of audit under GSTR 9C, these credits were reported, but there was no mechanism for anyone to verify this credit. In 6E of GSTR 9, we were reporting this credit, and again, this had to be reconciled with the table 880. We were not having any mechanism to verify. We can go to IceGate portal, enter the bill of supply, but it is a very complicated procedure. And on top of it, all that I used to see is my bill of entry related customs duty paid accessible value. I have to do some amount of arithmetical work to derive how much is the duty paid on account of import of goods. Another challenges used to be I have to search by each port code wise. Next, it was coming at a PAN level and not a GSTN level. So all those challenges were there. So those who were doing the GST audit and has to tie up the import of goods, the validity of it, there used to be a management representation letter or qualification in the report saying that it cannot be verified. The purchase import of goods cannot be verified. That used to be the scenario. Now this, to ease the job, it has been given in the Part D. So there are various parts. Part A has B2B invoices and amendments. Whenever happen, amendments are there. Then credit notes and amendment to credit notes are there. Part B has ISD credits. Part C is TDS and TCS credits. Please note, whenever I am saying TDS and TCS credit, there is also some misconception that it is also forming part of input tax credit. It is only an indication. Both the TDS and TCS credits are always a cash account balance. These are cash balance, so one has to be very careful about understanding the looking at these entries. You have to take these balances into cash balance. Next comes GSTR1 related changes. What are the changes that have happened in GSTR1? GSTR1 तो जैसे था वैसे ही है, so not much changes. The only point which I want to tell is section 39. The amended section 39 has now been made effective, where the GSTR1, if you have noticed, all this while there was no concept of quarterly filing of monthly return GSTR1. You might be asking, was there no facility of quarterly filing? But all this while we were doing, yes, by way of notification, government was issuing the dates because they have powers, and using their powers they were issuing it. Now the section is notified, giving effect to all the provisions, and rule 59, the corresponding rule 59 got amended. In the rule 59 they said the invoice furnishing facility, there would be an IFF which will be provided, and IFF would be used to furnish the information of a quarterly filer. So the monthly returns will be filed by a quarterly taxpayer. Instead of calling it as monthly, they call it as invoice furnishing facility, IFF. ये नया jargon है. So whatever the data which is furnished in IFF, they are clearly saying that this data, do not report it in your GSTR1 which you are filing at the end of the quarter. Matlab, it is IFF is similar to GSTR1. So if you are reporting in your IFF, it is automatically noticed to the recipient in GSTR2B. So you don't need to include it again. Since it is coming in 2A and 2B, do not include it again. Your IFF can also include regular invoices, B2B invoices, and credit notes and debit notes. So table 4, table 9 is very much given, which are the more critical tables in the GSTR 9. The next thing is a very important topic is quarterly returns, monthly payment scheme. What is this quarterly returns and monthly payment scheme? This is a scheme which has come for furnishing returns. Those aggregate turnover of the taxpayers in the preceding financial year is less than 5 crores. For them, the scheme has come in. Now, all this while, the quarterly filing of GSTR returns was only up to 1.5 crores. Up to 1.5 crores only was the quarterly filing of the GSTR1. From 1.5 crores, this has become to 5 crores. So the quarterly return scheme has come, aggregate turnover up to 5 crores. So now the definition of the smaller SSE has moved from 1.5 crore to 5 crores. This one has to take note of it. Now, what is that they have done? Have they made the filing for them also quarterly? The returns under GST is only GSTR 3B. Only GSTR 3B is the return, the others are not returns. So the government said, okay, your return is also filed on a quarterly basis, which means both GSTR1 and GSTR 3B both have gone a quarterly purpose. Now, if the returns have gone on a quarterly basis, which means is my payment of taxes also have gone quarterly? The answer to that is a little no. Government still wants the money on a monthly basis. So the government said, though the return filing is on a quarterly basis, the payment of the taxes has to happen on a monthly basis. So they have given two schemes for payment of the taxes, or two methods. They said a fixed sum method, which government will calculate. What is a fixed sum method? If I have to say quarter as 100, so which is 33, 33 or 30, one third, one third, one third. So the government said, okay, based on your previous quarter, I will compute, government will compute 35% of it as the tax liability, saying that, okay, you pay whatever the tax you have discharged in the previous quarter. So it will take the net liability that you have discharged in the previous quarter. That net liability into 35%, system will automatically ask you to make the payment. That is method 1. Method 2, a self-assessment basis. You yourself on a voluntary basis, you calculate. Shayad I am in a seasonal business or a cyclical industry. So during the monsoon seasons, like my fertilizers or something is being sold. So it varies. So whatever is your tax on outward supplies plus reverse charge liability minus whatever is the input tax credit based on your GSTR to be, you calculate on a self-assessment basis and make the payment. This is effective from 1st Jan 2021. Now, to whom it is applicable? I said it is applicable for those dealers whose aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is less than 5 crores. Now, how will the government know that the preceding financial year less than 5 crores? If you have noticed, once you logged into the portal in your dashboard, government has automatically categorized your turnover. You are into 0 to 505 crores, 5 to 50 crores, 50 to 100 crores, and 100 to 500 crores. So there is a categorization which has already happened by the government. Now, this categorization which the government has done, what is the basis they have done? They have used GSTR 3B of your previous financial year, the sigma of the GSTR 3B of all the GSTN IDs rolled up, and they made it as a turnover. They have also considered the people who have opted into composition scheme. So they have considered the details of the composition, opted in, opted out, basis that they have brought in as a saying that okay, you will be likely to be in a quarterly filer, and they will be giving you an option. Even though you are a quarterly filer, the default of yours will be set based on your pattern of filing. What is the pattern of filing? For example, my previous financial year turnover is say 4 crores. However, I have been filing my GSTR1 on a monthly basis. Even though you are eligible for a quarterly scheme, the government will reset you yourself as a monthly filer. You have an option to reset yourself to quarterly filer. If you are filing your GSTR1 into quarterly basis, government will reset it as a quarterly filer. Now, you might ask this question that, okay, I am 4 crores, how can this be quarterly coming in? Yes, government do not know the quarterly scheme for a more than 1.5 crores. That's why the government to 0 to 1.5 crores. More than 1.5 crore or 1.5 crores to 5 crores, the reset government will not know. You will have to do it yourself. So I have given some of the illustration for us to understand more about this. Couple of people are not eligible. They said if your aggregate turnover in the previous financial year exceeding 5 crores, not eligible. If your aggregate turnover in the current financial year during any of the quarter is exceeding, then again you are not eligible from next quarter. So first 2 quarters I am within 5 crores, but I am crossing 5 crores. So next quarter onwards I will have to file on a monthly basis. Next, if you have not filed your last 3B, the quarterly option will not be enabled to you. You might have noticed this while filing your GSTR 9. You can do it any changes only when your GSTR 1 and 3B is filed. So if you want to make the changes, your GSTR 3B should have been filed. Let's look at some of the examples. My turnover in the West Bengal is 3 crores, Tamil Nadu 1.5 crores, Delhi 2 crores. Each state my turnover is less than 5 crores. Am I eligible? Answer is no, because cumulative to subsection 6 aggregate turnover, I have exceeded the limit, so I am not eligible for the scheme. Next, my turnover in the financial year 1920 as per 3B is 4.75. How? I have done a wrong reporting. गलतियां तो हो सकती है. But actual turnover as per my books of accounts which I am disclosing in my GSTR 9 is 5.2 crores. Am I eligible for this? Answer is no. Though system will mark you as an eligible person, but you have to voluntarily say that no, I am not eligible because I made a mistake in my GSTR 3B. Next. West Bengal 3 crores, Tamil Nadu 1 crore, Delhi 50 lakhs, total 4.5 crores. Am I eligible? This time answer is yes, you are eligible. But one thing which I want to bring to a notice is they have further said each GSTN has their choice. So West Bengal can opt monthly, Delhi and Tamil Nadu can opt quarterly. So it is not necessary like under composition scheme. If one person in the composition, GSTN ID is in composition, across all GSTN should be in composition scheme. So there is no mandatory that under QRMP scheme, it should be in the same order. There is no mandate it to be in that order. Next case, my aggregate turnover in 1920 is 4.75 crores. In financial year 2021, I have crossed 5.5 crores. So for the first 2 quarters or first 3 quarters, I will be eligible. But once I have crossed 5 crores, the scheme I cannot move opt for it. I have to move to a monthly filing scheme. The last example is if the turnover in the financial year is 4 crores, aggregate turnover for financial year 21-22 till August is exceeding 5 crores. Now, you are eligible to opt for the monthly quarterly scheme for April and June to September. After that, you would be going to the regular scheme. Okay, sorry, another thing. Yeah, aggregate turnover financial year 1920 is 4.75. Current year is only 3.5. But I have not filed my GSTR 3B of December 20 by January 21. So they will say that till you file your returns, you are not eligible to enter into this quarterly return monthly payment schemes. Then aggregate turnover for the financial year 1920 4.75 crores. Current year is 3.5 crores. I have opted for quarterly return from Jan to March. Now the question is, I want to opt out from the quarterly return for the next financial year. Can I opt out? The answer is yes. You can opt out as on the last date of our opting out of the quarter to April to June is 30th April, because in the month of May you will have to file your April return. So end of the April you choose whether you want to move out from quarterly and want to do your monthly returns. So you have to opt out by April that period. Okay. So before I move to payment of the taxes, let's look at if there are any questions and then we will move. Okay, there's one question from Prashant Deep. If my aggregate turnover is more than 5 crores, but in 3B actually as per books it is less than 5 crores. Okay. So in 3B it is more than 5 crores, but in my books of accounts it is actually less than 5 crores. I made an error in reporting in GSTR 3B, because in GSTR 3B when I'm copying the data, it is already pre-filled with 0.0. मेरा turnover खाली 1 crore था. When I just copy pasted it, pasted before 1 crore became 10 crores. I did not notice and I filed my returns. जो tax भरना था वो तो हाथ से 9 लाख डाल के फाइल कर दिया था. So the questions of Prashant ji is, how can I opt for it since system will not mark for it? Yes, I am presuming that in the month of January when we are filing, they will give us an option to, like how it is happening in the e-invoice, for us to correct the error which we have made, because in GSTR 3 there is no option of correction. There would be an option to do it. That's the question by Hiren. GSTR 1 is more than 5 crores and GSTR 3B is less than 5 crores. Would one be eligible? Hiren, I would like to answer this way. Your categorization would be made based on GSTR 3B, but you have to do under GST is a self-regulated. In fact, Jatin sir yesterday was clearly explaining the self-assessment. You are the judge for your transactions. So you have to choose. If you feel GSTR 1 is right and you have not reported your GSTR 3B correctly, you are not eligible for it. You should not opt for it. Someone had raised the hand. I think, okay, they have lowered the hand. I think their question got answered. Okay, we will move to the Next one, the payment of tax. In case if you want to ask the question also, you can raise a hand. Me or the host will unmute and we can take it. Move to the next one, is payment of the taxes. Now they have given two methods, which is fixed sum and are you choosing the thing. Let's look at the first one, fixed sum. In the fixed sum, what did the government said? Government said 35% of whatever is the cash you have paid, net liability, not the gross liability, net liability of the previous quarter. So for example, Jan to March 2021, you have paid a tax of CGST 100. By the way, this is the example given in our circular itself. CGST 100, SGST 100, IGST 500 and cess 50. So totally I have paid 750. So one third of it is ideally I have to pay 250 rupees. But they said, okay, 35% you pay. How the 35% has to be paid? CGST 35, SGST 35, IGST 175. This is what you pay it in cash. And anyhow, you have an option to adjust cash from one ledger to other ledger, or the balance can be utilized. So that is not also an issue. Now, the tax which is paid in the month of March is 50, 50, 80. Now, why am I coming month of March? Quarterly file scheme is coming for more than 5 crores. Currently, only 1.5 crore people are also is there. So, I am a 4 crore turnover. I am filing my returns monthly. Now, if I am opting to quarterly from the next financial year, then it will consider immediately preceding month as the basis. And when it is considering immediately preceding year, it is not like 105% of it. जो पिछले महीने का liability है, net cash liability, that system will do. Now, can I edit it? This is a fixed sum method. You have to choose the second method if you want to change it. What is the second method? Self-assessment method. The government said self-assessment method. You compute your liability on account of your outward supplies, on account of reverse charge supplies. Reduce your input tax credit balance as per 2B. Whatever is the balance that is coming, you have to pay that much tax. So you have to pay self-assessment. Now, what is the difference between these two? One thing, in your self-assessment, you are assessing yourself. If there is any error in the self-assessment, you have to pay interest for the shortfall. In case of a fixed sum method, system has calculated 35%. If you, as long as you are filing your quarterly return well within the time, there will not be any interest if there is a shortfall owing to that 35%. Assuming out of 3 months my sales happens only in the first month, other 2 months sales do not happen. Even though you are paying only 35% out of 100 rupees that needs to be paid, there is no interest that is going to come under fixed sum method. But under a self-assessment method, there is an interest liability that is coming up. So one has to be very careful in using that. Can I switch from self-assessment method or the fixed sum method to either of it? The answer is yes. You can definitely switch. The registered person is free to avail either of the 2 months in any of the 2 months in the quarter. Any of the method you can avail and switch it. Now, will system calculate interest automatically? As of now, the answer is no. Most likely the system will be improved to calculate, but you have to compute for yourself. There's a question from Siddharth is, can we file GST at 3B for less than 5 crore and pay tax liability monthly? Answer is yes. That is what we are looking at, sir. Quarterly returns, which is GST or 3B on a quarterly basis, payment of tax liability on a monthly basis. So this is what they are saying as quarterly return, monthly payment, QRMP scheme. So that is what we are now looking at. The answer to your question is yes, you can file on a quarterly basis and pay on a monthly basis. Okay, now very interesting. You are saying that we do not want to go into the scheme. There is nothing like you do not want to go into the scheme. scheme there are only two options of payment, which is self-assessment or fixed sum. Fixed sum system will calculate. If you do not want a fixed sum of 35%, you want to voluntarily calculate and pay. Answer is yes, system is giving you. So you, without going into the scheme, can I do it? Answer is yes. That is self-assessment. You assess the tax liability and pay. That is also permitted. Now, how do I deposit the taxes? We initially thought this is they introduced in the for the purpose of ANX 1 and ANX 2. For the quarterly filers, they introduced PMT 08. We thought it will be in PMT 08, but they surprisingly they said PMT 06 will be amended, wherein in the drop down of the PMT 06 for the quarterly filers, it would be coming the monthly payment for a quarterly taxpayer. So there will be an option that would be coming in the drop down. You shall be choosing that option. You shall be choosing that option while generating the challan. Once you choose that option, you are making the payment. You will also have the option to choose whether it is a fixed sum or self-assessment. But under PMT 06, which is our tax payment challan, within 25th of the succeeding month, since you are not filing the return like GST or 3B, the system is expecting you to file the PMT 06, more like a self-assessment tax. The government do not want to now introduce too many forms to confuse the people. Next comes GSTR 3B changes. So we have seen 2A changes, 2B changes, GSTR 1, the invoice furnishing facility, and we have seen the quarterly filers scheme. Now GSTR 3B, for the monthly filers, the change is happening. What is the change that is happening? You would have already noticed, once you have logged into GSTR portal for filing GSTR 3B, down you are seeing auto computed, system computed GSTR 3B. As of now, your GSTR 3B is not auto populated, but very soon your GSTR 3B is very soon getting auto populated. In fact, in one of the group yesterday, one of my friend was posting that in the times to come, it would be like the. In fact, even yesterday we have seen the tweet coming up from the finance ministry saying that there will no longer be a filing of returns. So return filing का system नहीं रहेगा. अगर return filing का system नहीं है, then it will be like a good news. But their intention is that okay, everything we will take care. How e-invoice is coming in. So with the e-invoice, your data is automatically going to GSTR1. Buyer is giving it into his GSTR2B. Likewise, your GSTR2B is coming. Data is automatically populated into GSTR3B. You just make good of the payment of the taxes. Returns filing is automated. So, which means filing of returns is like a simple process. Next submit file, like sign, OTP, whatever, is like you will be seeing on the screen. Liability दिख जाएगा. अभी ज़्यादा कुछ करने का नहीं है. Next, you will see input tax credit, OB auto populate हो गया. Next, you will say offset liability, OB हमारा काम नहीं है. System will automatically offset the liability. System knows what does section 49(5) say, what is the order of adjusting the input tax credit, OB adjust हो गया. So all that you have to do, payment of tax, OB system will automatically offset. जो आपने tax भर दिया है, आपका cash ledger से OB offset automatically हो जाएगा, and it is just filed. So very soon this is going to happen. How soon I cannot say, but this is the future. Now, change is the only thing which is constant. Nothing else is constant. So everything gets changed. So if someone whose business is into filing of the returns, if I say compliance is my business, I was like, I do not want to get into this litigation, notice management, all those complicated stuff. I'm happy filing the returns. Very soon, government is going to take away that business. And these software companies who are in the business of selling return filing software, उनका भी दुकान बंद होने वाला है. But एक नहीं तो दूसरा नया आ जाएगा, वो दूसरी बात है. But yes, if we do not adopt to the change, we will also get lost. What is happening is suddenly you get an SMS alert. Okay, this is your liability. Next SMS alert. Okay, this is your input tax credit. make so much cash balance available in your account. You deposit some balance, it is there. Okay, it is there automatically, system fine. And by the way, this is not like a new concept. I'm sure if someone who have worked with countries like Singapore, there the return filing is really automatic in the same way. You upload your statement, some of the statements, so system will automatically take it. So this is more like that we are tending towards it. So there is no return filing software that would be required, and this is what another area which we are entering into. Okay. So friends, these are the changes on the returns GSTR 1, 2A, 2B, 3B. If you have any questions, let's just pause for a moment and take up the questions before we move to second topic of the day, e-invoice. If you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand. We will unmute. If you have any question, you can put the question here and we will do. Okay. Again, question from Siddharth is, we do not want to go into this scheme. Is the government forcing us? Siddharth ji, definitely no. If you want to be in the monthly scheme, you are always welcome. There is nothing that you should be in a quarterly scheme. Honestly, in our office, we always do everything monthly for a simple reason. Quarterly ka ek due date hai. Group A states one due date, Group B states one due date. So in midst of so many due dates, I can't remember. It is, let me put one date to everyone. That's the so you can choose everything to be on a monthly basis also. Next question from Yash. Last month or quarter of net liability is nil. How to calculate the next quarter to fix 35% option? Yes, you have asked a super question. Math is simple. 0 into 35% will be 0 ho jayega. System will say nothing to pay. So you are happy. They will also not charge you with interest because you are under fixed payment method. You can happily pay the taxes end of the quarter. But the moment you pay the taxes now in the next quarter, even though your liability is nil, it will force you under fixed payment method that, okay, you pay me so much. You have to switch from fixed payment method to self-assessment method. Any other questions for anyone? Okay. As I envisaged, this is such a simple topic which everyone knows, so there are no questions. I am glad. And let's move to the next topic, e-invoice. And I am sure this is also a topic every one of you might have attended some session, might have been aware. But honestly, let me tell you again, as a practicing professional under indirect taxes or from the thing, it is also one other opportunity for you to serve your clients and assist or help them in adoption of e-invoice. It is definitely a professional opportunity to undertake the services of implementation of e-invoices to the client. You might be saying, isn't it not a technology work? It is the job of a software guys to do it. Definitely no. I have seen when the software guys do how bad job they do because they do not understand the domain. You may say that, okay, I don't understand, what can I do? Definitely it is the support that would be needed, but when we do it, we do much better job to the clients. Let's go on the e-invoice. First, let's look at what are the provisions of e-invoice. First and foremost thing, if I have to say why e-invoice, it is standardization of the accounting process when it comes to invoice. You know, accounting is a metric. We just do some transaction entry. And I'm sure you would have noticed various accountants in your life, various companies, various transaction processing accountants. You will find the accounting spectrum from one end to another end. If I have to talk about a simple sales entry, on the one hand, you will find the sales accounting being party account debit, say 100, to sales account, say 95, to to GST liability 5 rupees is one end of the spectrum. To an other end of the spectrum is what are the items that are moving out. I record entire item. My inventory is recorded. My batch, go down, expiry, all the information is recorded. Due date, when the bill becomes due, within what date it becomes the credit is applicable. What should be the payment bank to which they have to credit the payment. All the information that is loaded into that transaction and sent to the customer, or swap it when I'm recording it as a purchase entry. You would have noticed some customers who are recording the purchases, just debit purchase, credit vendor, and other end you will find the people who are doing a detailed accounting. In either of the case, you are noticing it is a transaction processing. It is accounting is a metric, and depends on the type of the software. It all depends on the which accounting software which forces you the way you have to account. Depending on that, the transactions are also recorded. Now there is no standard which says that if an invoice has to be prepared, invoice has to be in this fashion. There is no standard in India. Like if you see in GST, the rule 46 says that this should be the contents of the invoice. It doesn't really say what all should an invoice talk. Like how our AS2 talks about valuation of inventory, or AS9 revenue recognition. We do not have any standard under any law that what should be the fields or contents of the e-invoice. And e-invoice has come, it is live now, and a pretty good job has been done by NIC and GSTN in implementation of e-invoice. It hasn't been any failure so far. It is really a success. In days to come, it is also going to reap lot of benefits both from the buyers, sellers, return compliance, return filing. Everyone's life is going to become simpler. Let's see the legal provisions on the e-invoice. The first and foremost is Rule 48, Notification 68 by 2019 is the genesis of e-invoice, wherein we know Rule 46 has contents and Rule 48 has said manner of issuing the invoice. In the Rule 48, they have amended and said in the manner of issuing the invoice, wherever e-invoice is applicable, you should issue INV01 only. Anything you issue other than INV01 is not a valid document, is what the new notification said. As along with it, it also said that you don't need to now have multiple documents. Like if you see 48 sub rule 1, it says original to the recipient, duplicate to the transporter, triplicate apne paas rakh lo. All those things are not required. In fact, in the finance ministry's statement, they have also mentioned if e-invoice is applicable to you and you are carrying an electronic document of it, even the e-way bill will be not required to be carried. The officer will scan it and he will get it. They did not say do not do the e-way bill. They said in the times to come we will get away with the e-way bill. They said do not need to carry the printout of the e-way bill or the invoice, because the e-invoice QR code will contain this information. Officer will infer from it is what the notification is, and a very welcome thing. Where do I generate an e-invoice? To generate an e-invoice, government has given a common portal, 10 common portals, and the key person in generating the e-invoice is IRP. So the IRP will take care of this, and the first IRP is NIC. E-invoice 1.gst.go1 is handled by NIC. So what are the supplies it is covered? They said B2B and export invoices, and credit notes and debit notes is what is covered. Basically, so the rule 46 is covered, debit notes and credit notes is covered. The applicability of it, notification 61 said 500 crores from 1st October. Then notification 88, all these are central tax notification. 88 said it is more than 100 crores. Please comply it from 1st January 2021. You have to comply for it. What is the turnover when criteria for 100 crores or 500 crores? We've been thinking preceding year. They said any of the preceding financial year from the 2017-18 onwards. मान लीजिए 17-18 में आपका टर्नओवर 100 करोड़ से ज्यादा है and 17-18 should I consider April to March or July to March given in the absence of any information you consider from July to March अगर 100 करोड़ से ऊपर है उसके बाद मेरा टर्नओवर घट गया and I'm only in 50 crores 20 crores bracket even then e-invoice is applicable to you from 1st January 2021. No, my turnover is lower, but this year my turnover crossed 100 crores. What about it? This year your turnover crossed 100 crores. No worries, it is not applicable to you. Can I adopt it voluntarily? Voluntary adoption as of now it is not started. Very likely after the first Jan, the second phase e-invoice is complete. The third phase is coming for everyone from 1st April. So in that bracket you will be doing it. So after 1st January you will have an option to do e-invoice. The next thing one needs to know about what should be the contents of e-invoice. The schema has been defined in notification 60/2020 where they have defined what should be the fields, what should be the contents of the e-invoice has been defined in it. Is e-invoice applicable to everyone? Is there any exemption? The exemption to e-invoice has been brought in under notification 61/2020. We all know people who are covered under Rule 54 are not applicable to generate an invoice under Rule 46 because the requirement for them is different. So those people are also excluded from generating e-invoice. Who are they? GTA, PTA, the banks, NBFC, insurance companies, and admission to cinematographic films in multiplex screens. These four category of the people have been exempted. Alongside of them, one more exemption has been given to SCZ. So for SCZ, you don't need to generate an e-invoice. So these are the four people. Now, if it is a SCZ developer, they have to do the e-invoice. It's only SCZ, their exemption from e-invoice. Just to sum up for e-invoice, if you are a supplier of, you making a supply to a registered person, B2B, you have to do. Export, you have to do. Even though you are supplying to SCZ, you have to do. SCZ units are exempted. You supplying to SCZ is not exempted. Alongside of invoice, you have to do credit note and debit note. These are the documents that are supported for e-invoice. Now, one thing which I want you to note is it is only to a registered person. A B2B, you can generate an e-invoice. B2C, you cannot generate an e-invoice. So if I have to put a matrix, taxable supplies to a registered person, e-invoice tick. Taxable supplies to an unregistered person, no e-invoice. Exempt supplies to a registered person, no e-invoice because it's not a tax invoice covered under Rule 46. Exempt supply to an unregistered person, no e-invoice. So technically, Table 4, Table 6, Table 9 of GSTR1, where you are entering line-wise details, all those information is covered under e-invoice. When I am talking about Table 4, outward reverse charge supplies. Assuming I am a travel company, I am like a travel company, SRS Travels. I'm a big travel company. Definitely, I'm not covered by way of the exemption, the passenger transportation company, but I am also in the business of giving the vehicles on hire. I am also in the business of giving vehicles on hire. I am also in the business of something where the other person is to be paying taxes and a reverse charge. All these invoices I have to do e-invoicing. So you have to be very mindful of these points. Let me explain how the e-invoicing process happens. You as a seller from your ERP application, you will connect to the e-invoice registrar 1 to N. using any of the modes. There is a ASP mode, offline, online mode. You will connect any of the modes. You will send the data. IRP will be doing some validations. If everything is fine, he will send it back to you. As he is sending, he will also connect it to the GST system. So if I have to give you an example, so you are pushing your data to the IRP system, registrar 1 to N. IRP is sending the data to e-waybill portal for generating e-waybill. He is updating it to GSTR1, which means on a real-time basis, it is updated to the recipient also in the GSTR2A. He is also, you are also updating it in the portal. Now you would have noticed last year there were people, there were finance institutions which were facilitating the funding. That is also happening. More importantly, you are automating your transaction posting. There are APIs that would come which will read the data automatically and post it into your books of accounts. Even that process gets automated. This is the overall process of an e-invoice. Let's look at if there are any questions in the e-invoice before I move to the FAQs on the e-invoice. Okay. Question from Prashandeep ji. I raised invoice in October, but the goods dispatched in November. When should I raise e-invoice? Prashandeep ji, whenever you are raising an e-invoice, you have to do an e-invoice. If the goods are moving in the month of November, you will do an e-invoice without e-waybill. Whenever the goods are going, you will do e-waybill at that point. Next question from Yash Panchal. I am doing high C sales, FTWZ sales. Should I raise e-invoice? Yes, e-invoice is applicable for tax invoice. Now, high C sales is a Schedule 3 transaction. So, you are not going to issue a tax invoice. Hence, you will not be doing any e-invoice for this transaction. There are some technical terms one needs to understand in the e-invoice. There are three main technical terms. The first one is called IRP. Who is an IRP? Sorry, first one is IRN. What is an IRN? Invoice reference number. Invoice reference number is a 64-digit alphanumeric number. It's a 64-digit alphanumeric number basis which says that your invoice has been done. This would be issued by the IRP on a combination of 4 items. 1, GST NID, 2, the financial year, 3, the document type, the 4th document number. On a combination of these 4, the IRN gets generated. It is an alphanumeric 64 digits. इसको क्या करना है? Like कुछ मत करो. Ensure that you have an IRN. People always ask this question: should I print it in the invoice? Should I record it in my software? Should I like enter it in GSTR2 or GSTR1? पहले ये 64 डिजिट है. अगर आप टाइप करना बैठोगे, गलतियां तो हो ही जाती. Your 13-digit bank account number we cannot remember and put it a proper data entry. ये 64 साल भर में मेरा एक ही इनवॉइस रहेगा, तभी भी ये इशू रहेगा कि that there is a thing. Now, how do I know that, okay, is this right or not? I'll come. There are methods the government has given, whether it is right or not. Next is IRP. Who is an IRP? Invoice registration portal. Invoice registration portal. Taxpayer. From his accounting software, we have seen it is he is pushing the data to IRP. He is the one who is going to play a key role in generation of e-invoice. What is he going to do? He is going to take your data and actually convert it into an e-invoice. So as a taxpayer, you would be uploading a data which is an you from as a taxpayer, you're uploading a data which is a JSON given by the government, which is the JSON given by the government. Let me see if I can have any pen to explain. Yeah. So there is a JSON file which is given as per the schema. This is sent to the IRP portal. What does the IRP do? IRP is going to do a deduplicacy check. Whether have you sent it to any IRPs, or is it the first invoice or second invoice, is going to do a deduplicacy check and confirm whether yes, it is a new invoice. If it is a new invoice, he will make an entry in his registry. If you are asking for an e-way bill, he will connect to e-way bill portal and generate an e-way bill. And the data is also pushed to GST common portal, which is gst.gov.in, to update this to GSTR 1. And once he does it, he is sending you back a digitally signed invoice along with a digitally signed QR code. This is what he is going to send you back. Now, how much time it takes to do all this? Any idea? It takes second or milliseconds. If I have to really say, it takes, the time it takes is like a blink of an eye. The time it takes to that's the time it takes. I have implemented close to 300 odd GST and IDS e-invoice for various clients. They are reaping benefits of the amount of time that they are saving. Currently, if you notice the e-way bill generation, you will do a data entry in your accounting software. From your accounting software, you will print the invoice or you generate a JSON. You go to the e-way bill portal. You will do the data entry of it, generate an e-way bill number, come back to your accounting software. You will do punch the e-way bill number, then print the invoice. ये पूरा काम करने के लिए 5 मिनट लगता है. Now अब 2 seconds, 5 seconds भी नहीं लगेगा. 2 seconds में ये process पूरा automate हो गया. And more importantly, you don't need to file anything in GSTR1. That also automated, right? More importantly, your recipient 2A is visible on a real-time basis. Uska accounting, all this while it used to be when he does the accounting, agar invoice mein INV002 hai, and he will be entering it as 2, then you will be using a software to reconcile the purchase versus 2A. It will say that it will do a fuzzy logic to match all this. All this काम is like काम तमाम हो गया, automatic हो गया. There is no requirement of doing this. This is automated. And all this happens in such a fraction of seconds. You might say that I'm exaggerating, and is this really possible? Let me give you the distinction between IRP and GSTR1 or GSTN portal. Here I will take a small example, and I always take this example and I love because people will more get connected to it. IRP is like your security guard at the factory. What is the job of a security guard? जो भी माल अंदर जा रहा है उसके बुक में एंट्री कर लेगा, और जो भी जा रहा है he will make an entry in his book. वो ये नहीं पूछेगा कि भाई साहब पिछले महीना आपने ये माल 1 लाख में बेचा है, अब क्यों 1.5 लाख में ये बेच रहे हो? Like security guard is not going to ask that, or is not going to ask that, सर पीवो तो 1000 क्वांटिटी का बनाया, अब तो खाली 400 क्वांटिटी आया. He is not going to ask. His job is to only record whatever is coming in, going out. But yes, he is going to do something. अगर बाजू वाला का फैक्ट्री में जाने वाला माल मेरा फैक्ट्री में आ रहा है तो बोलेगा भाई भाई रुको, is like it is not here, go there. So IRP is also going to do that. Is like if you under your GST NID you are trying to upload an invoice for Reliance, तो बोलेगा कि आप Reliance नहीं हो, आप ये invoice नहीं कर सकते हो. Or there is a JSON schema which has been given. The schema has to be, the data has to be as per this JSON schema. You are not generating the invoice as per the JSON schema, you are generating in some other format. So the IRP says, no, you have not given a valid, please give a valid data. Since the data has to go to the IRP portals, he will say that tax rate 5% you can't put 5.5% or 9% as the tax rate. But he is not going to say that, okay, you are selling cement का rate है 28%, क्यों आप इसमें 5% लगा रहे हो? Jelly and sand का rate 5% है, cement का 28% है. He is not going to question. Even if you put the HSN of the cement and put it as 5%, IRP is going to take. If you look at the time it will take by the security guard to make an entry, उसके पास एक book रहेगा, वो खाली 4-5 items वो लिखेगा उसका book में, माल अंदर जाएगा. But the same thing, if an accountant is doing a punching in his accounting software, he will easily take minimum 5 minutes to do it because he has to check, अच्छा मैंने PO raise किया कि नहीं, PO का rate क्या है, इसका rate क्या है, and easy credit limit के अंदर है कि नहीं, all those validations डालने के बाद accounting software में entry होगा. You can correlate that security guard as the IRP and this accountant as GSTR1. When the data goes to GSTR1, it has a huge validation. That is why the moment you press a button, पहले 3 goal बोलना है. Like you have to see that 3 circles moving. Then with the GSTR1, all this while we have this. If it is working, which means you are under less than 1,50,000 persons. So if you are exceeding that, then it will say that please wait. Already 1,50,000 people are accessing it. It is not the time for you. And like always, government says, do not wait till last minute. Please file the returns in early. मैं returns कैसे भरूंगा? If I do not have an option to make the payment of tax after filing the return. अगर return भरना है तो tax pay करना है. अगर tax pay करना है, अगर मेरे पास cash flow रहता है तो 15 if I made the payment on 15, definitely I'll file the return on 15. Only if you have given time till 20th, I'll file it only on 20th. Right? That is मेरा हक है. Now the government says it is increased to 3 lakhs, so you will be waiting in the queue 0 to 3 lakhs, right? So this is the whole process of the IRP, right? So let's move to so the first IRP is the NIC, and IRP is not going to acknowledge what he is going to do is he's only going to acknowledge the invoice, but he is not going to save it in his database more than 24 hours. मतलब अगर आपको कैंसिल करना है तो 24 घंटे के अंदर आपको कैंसिल करना पड़ेगा. After 24 hours, you cannot cancel the invoice, so one has to do it. You cannot go to IRP saying, भाई साहब मेरा सिस्टम क्रैश हो गया या ransomware आ गया, जो पिछले महीने मैंने आपको इनवॉइसेस दी थी ना, उसका कॉपी एक पास मेरा दो. Like he is not your data holding server. He is not going to give you any information. He is not going to have any information with him. IRP sends you some information, which is more like he gives you acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, IRN, signed invoice, signed QR code, and this looks something like this data. The signed invoice, it doesn't mean like जो हमें जो आदत है invoice देखने की, वो वाले invoice नहीं है. This will be more like this, जो आपको स्क्रीन में दिख रहा है. IRP से जो डेटा आता है, अगर आप खोल के देखोगे तो ऐसे रहेगा. तो आप पूछ सकते हो कि भाई साहब इनवॉइस मतलब ये है? आंसर इज यस, ये है. You need to have some tools to decode into human readable form. There are ASPs who does this job to decode. And if you go to Sandbox of the government portal, Sandbox also has utilities to do it. What is a Sandbox? It is like a backup site, and Live is a production site. Okay. The third thing one needs to know is QR code, quick reference code. Quick reference code is also very important, and we have seen the amendment to Rule 46 happened. Rule 46N, where they said QR code needs to be printed. The sixth proviso to Rule 46 also said wherever the e-invoice is applicable, please print the QR code on the digital invoice that is being issued to the customer. What does the QR code contain? QR code contain a high level information about the e-invoice. What is the high level information? The GSTN ID of the supplier, GSTN ID of the recipient, invoice number, the date of invoice, invoice value, the taxable value and the gross tax amount, total number of line items, the HSN code of the main item, which is the line item with the highest taxable value, and IRN, which is the unique invoice reference number. This is what it is going to have. So if you scan a QR code, the contents would be like this. In fact, what you are seeing on the screen is a real QR code. By the way, if you open your cameras, अगर आपके मोबाइल में कैमरा है तो आप कैमरा ओपन करके, like you come and scan this, you will not see what you are seeing here. What you will see is that junk, E by blah 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 blah, all those junk you will see. Then how do I know that this QR code is genuine or not? Government has given a verifying app. You go to einvoice1.gst.gov.in, under the more tools, under the help section, you will find an app verify QR code. You enter your mobile number and the OTP, it will download in your mobile. You scan it, then you will see this information. Basically, this is a high level information where, like a CEO of an organization who wants to see about information about an invoice, that is what this would be available. Then there are some FAQs. I am sure you would have some questions. So before you ask a question to me, I thought I will only put some question and answers, and then I'll take your questions on the e-invoice before we move to the last topic of the day, which is on e-way bill. Okay, first and foremost thing I would like to give a disclaimer is, in the e-invoice, it is a technology driven. Technology is insensitive. It is not going to make any mistake. It is going to give you accurate information, but it is not sensitive to the human behavior aspects. For example, let's take a simplest thing, something which we all know. Tally as an accounting software. And what about Tally? Okay, I'm not promoting an accounting software, or nor I'm trying to degrade something. Most of the accountants, if they have to post an accounting entry, their favorite method of posting an accounting entry is, let's say, a sales entry. They go to the sales register or they go to the day book. They take the last voucher. They press Alt 2. माने voucher duplicate हो गया. उसके बाद क्या करेंगे? Change the date, change the invoice number, change the party, change the item quantity, rate, tax amount आ गया, escape for the narration, or Control R, Alt R, or type the new narration and Control A. This is what we are habitual of. And voucher number, उसकी जरूरत नहीं है, वो automatically आ जाएगा. Like the moment I put a new entry, वो voucher number अपने आप बन के आ जाएगी. Now, this is the kind of environment we are in, and we do an e-invoice to it. Suddenly, someone says, नहीं ये तो ये invoice, ये party तो अभी मांगा ही नहीं है माल, ये invoice को delete कर दो. मैंने वो invoice delete कर दिया बीच में. Suddenly, in out of some 300 entries, in line number 251, I deleted. Then what will happen to all the vouchers? It will automatically realign the voucher number. गवर्नमेंट पोर्टल में एक वोचर नंबर रहेगा, आपका बुक्स में एक और वोचर नंबर, वो एक उसका इनवॉइस नंबर, आईआरएन नंबर अलग रहेगा. You have issued an invoice. In fact, this common question that comes, can I make an amendment? Amendment का तो गुंजाइश ही नहीं. It's like there is no concept called amendment in GST R1. Once an invoice is issued, it cannot be amended. आप बोलोगे सर आपको पता नहीं है GSTR 9 में GSTR 1 में टेबल 9 है अमेंडमेंट्स के लिए दिए हैं, आप तो बात करते हो कभी देखा नहीं है, right? The reason why the table 9 amendment has been given is not to correct your invoice. That has been given. आपने invoice सही सही दिया, but data entry में गलत हो गई है. आपने invoice issue किया वेणुगोपाल जी को, but books of accounts में record हुआ वेणुगोपाल yes, and उस हिसाब से GSTR 1 बन गई थी. देन और बुक्स में भी सही है बट टाइप करते समय या रिटर्न फाइल करते समय गलत रिटर्न कर दिया, उसको करेक्ट करने के लिए दिए थे. ऐसा नहीं कि आपने एक बार इनवॉइस इश्यू किया उसको अमेंड कर सकते. दिस इज अ सेकंड थिंग व्हिच यू शुड बी नोइंग विद द टेक्नोलॉजी. थर्ड, आई टोल्ड अबाउट सैंडबॉक्स and government has given a trial website just to generate an e-invoice. What does the trial website means? Test it. I have noticed, टेस्ट करने लगे, सही सही लगा तो बोले हाँ ये पक्की हो गई, इसको रख देते. उसी में से they are generating invoices and e-waybill, but actually it is like it's a backup. Backup में कुछ नहीं करना है, कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते हो. So you have to be very sensitive when you are working with the technologies, and this is where I say that we chartered accountants play a good role in implementation of e-invoice, because we breathe in with one concept. Like as an auditor, we breathe in, breathe out with one concept called control. Even in our dreams, we always think of, okay, क्या गलत हो सकती है, and audit is always about, okay, is everything fine, like am I satisfied, it's only controls. And during the implementation, this is the good big value addition. If we chartered accountants take up this activity of e-invoice, we are going to do that. So let's look at what are the issues in the e-invoice and what are the challenges and how do we face that. First and foremost, when should I issue an invoice? एक question पहले भी कोई पूछे थे. Whenever you are raising the invoice, and section 31 clearly gives you when should you raise an invoice. In case of the goods, on or before movement of the goods, counter sales, across the counter sales, services within 30 days from the date of provision of service. So whenever you are raising an invoice, you have to issue e-invoice only, not any other invoice. What about e-waybill? How does it work? E-waybill is firstly under Rule 138. It has got nothing to do with e-invoice. However, the system will allow you to generate an e-waybill along with the e-invoice. If you say, I don't want now, I will do an e-invoice now. ट्रक भरा नहीं है, 2 दिन के बाद मैं माल मूव करूंगा. That's okay. You do e-invoice now, e-waybill later. Can I cancel the invoice? Answer is yes. First you cancel the e-waybill if you have generated, then cancel the invoice. I was unable to do the e-invoice. Can I do the e-waybill first and do the e-invoice later? No problem. System permits you to do that way also. Should I print the IRN? मेरे को IRN print करना है क्या? The answer is IRN not required to be printed. तो क्या print करना है? You have to print the QR code. This is what the new amendment which brought in notification 79, the QR code has to be printed. How do I send e-invoice to the recipient? Will IRP do the mailing services to me? IRP is not going to do any mailing services. You have to find a method. He is not going to give you any email printout or anything. But what I'm aware or I'm told is the government is building with a method called SIMPOL, a communication protocol using which a recipient should be able to access the invoices very soon. We will be able to see that. When I say very soon, maybe sometime mid of next year, you should be able to see that. What are the details which you should save in your ERP? Now, as you are aware, section 35, which talks about the maintenance of books of accounts, the documents and that record keeping. In my view, whatever the data that you are getting from IRP, acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, the signed invoice, signed QR code, all are recommended to be maintained in the database. Right? Till what time I can cancel the invoice? As I said, 24 hours. There is no time in the law, but till what time I can register with the e-invoice with the IRP. There is no time limit in the law, but the recommended practice, register within 48 hours. And cancellation, yes, you can cancel the e-invoice, but please cancel within 24 hours. What happens? I forgot to cancel it. I cannot cancel it. I have generated, but I did not cancel it within 24 hours. Don't worry, cancel it in your books of accounts. And since the data traveled to your GSTR1, go to GSTR1 and delete it. You do not report it in your GSTR1 filing, right? So this is what one has to be aware of e-invoice and the questions related to it. If you have any questions, now you may choose to ask your questions. And if you want to ask a question, you can raise the hand. I can unmute and you can ask the question. Okay, there's a question on e-way bill by Subrat ji. Goods are sent by raising e-way bill in number of occasions to complete the interior furnishing of a rail coach. After completion of work, tax invoice is raised. How can we deal with such case? Very good question. So I might doing a supply, let's say a continuous supply of goods. Now goods mal ja raha hai, but I am going to raise the invoice now, and the original invoice will go at the last thing. Or another case, I am in the business of selling laptops, but एक customer मेरे पास आया, चला मेरे को rent में दे दो, अगर मुझे अच्छा लगा तो मैं ले लूंगा. So when the material is going, it is going under delivery चलान, but उसको लगा ठीक लगा, 7 दिन के बाद आया, बोला ठीक है मेरे पास है, मेरे को invoice कर दो. How does it happen? So you will have to do e-way bill. So that is where I said Rule 138 has got nothing to do with e-invoice. Both are independent. You will have to do it independently. Okay. Hope this answers your question. Any other questions on e-invoice for anyone?
Hello, Venu sir, can you hear me?
हाँ विकास जी, yes, बोलिए.
Sir, some questions in chat box I am reading out for your answers, sir. Prasandeep Rungta, is there an option to raise e-invoice without e-way bill?
Yes, you can raise an e-invoice without e-way bill. Yes.
Okay. And one question from Yes Panchal. Sir, I am sales, high C sales and FTWZ sales. Should I raise e-invoice?
So this we have answered, e-invoice is not applicable for this.
IC sale is not applicable, but in case of zero rated supply, that is for the SEZ, then it will applicable.
Yes, yeah, supply to SEZ is applicable.
Right.
IC sales is not applicable.
Applicable because it is the out of India transaction.
Correct.
All
right.
Prasandeep Rungta, can you unmute yourself and ask the question directly to the Venu sir? He raised a question that I raise invoice in October, but goods dispatch in November. When do I raise e-invoice?
You will be raising e-invoice in the month of October.
Yeah, because we need to report the same in the month of October in GSTR1, right, sir?
Correct.
And you pointed out that both are the independent section for raising the e-invoice and e-way bill. And e-way will be required to be raised in the month of November, but invoice can be raised in the month of October itself, right, sir?
Correct. Absolutely. All right.
And if I request all the participants, if someone want to ask any question from the Venu sir, since he is available here, so please unmute yourself and ask the questions.
Right. Okay. So let's move to the last point of the section, last topic of the day, which is
PDF. If someone want to ask the question, they can. Do you have any question in your chat box, PDF?
No, till now I don't have actually all the questions. Two questions were pending, which you had already clarified.
Yeah. So let's continue the session to the last
Yeah.
topic of the day, which is e-way bill.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Right. So now again, this is e-way bill. This is an old topic. Everyone are aware of it. So I only want to talk about MOV forms because which we are not much aware or which we don't practice much on the e-way bill. So some of the important circulars one needs to know when we are talking about e-way bill. There are two important circulars one needs to know about e-way bill. Circular number 41, where the procedure for interception of the conveyance is given. This is what I'm going to speak today. Second, circular number 64, where the penalty, a minor penalty which needs to be paid under DRC 07 rupees 500 CGST or 500 SGST or 1000 rupees IGST is what which has been prescribed. Actually, it is only CGST and SGST the penalty that comes because the proper officer who is intercepting the vehicle is always the officer of the state in the state. Now, these are the two important circular one needs to be knowing about the e-way bill. Rest are all the minor things. This is only for education purpose. When it comes to the e-way bill, there are the rule 138 talks about e-way bill. The important thing about is rule 138, which says what is an e-way bill, and 138A says that okay, what are the documents one needs to carry along with the vehicle. The person in charge of the vehicle, what are the documents he should be carrying is 138A. 138B gives the power to intercept the vehicle and verify the document. 138C is for verification of the goods. And during the verification, he has to issue an e-way bill report. A summary report is EWB 03. If the vehicle is detained for more than 30 minutes, as an SSC, I have a right to report as an escalation. My vehicle is detained without issuing a notice. I have to carry on my business. You can raise a complaint under EWB 04. And very important thing is 138E, which is a blockage of the e-way bill portal. So this 138E has again surfaced into light in the last week. Owing to pandemic, the government has relaxed various provisions for filing of the returns, for generating the e-way bills, various things they have relaxed. But again, to curb the fake transactions and in the name of bogus ITC, they still want to have a high tide on the compliance. Why does this circular 64 is important? Because the penalty under GST for non-compliance of e-way bill is pretty high. Section 129, the penalty, if you see, the penalty is very high. Why the penalty is very high? If the vehicle is detained, you will have to pay a tax. It is detained for like it is moving without documents or bill nahi tha, kuch bhi, whatever reason. You have to pay tax and get your material back. It is as good as you're purchasing the material. And second, you have to pay a penalty equivalent to tax. You have to pay a penalty equivalent to tax. So e-way bill penalty is pretty severe, as good as like your uh, uh, section 130 is also severe. If I have to look at section 74, fraud related penalty or interest, that is much lower than the e-way bill. So complaints of e-way bill is very much highly required. Now, owing to COVID, we had the relaxation from 20th March to 15th October. So all these relaxations have gone. Now the government said, since the relaxation have gone, if you are not filing your return, quarterly filer, 2 quarters, monthly filer, 2 months, you didn't file the return, I will mark your GSTN as inactive. I will block you to generate an e-way bill. एनियो मैं तो माल खरीद रहा हूँ अक्रॉस द काउंटर सेल कर रहा हूँ जो माल आपको बेच रहा है और बेच रहा है he cannot also generate an e-way bill for you because it will say it is inactive and blocked. So it is very important, one needs to be aware of this. I want to talk about MOV forms because this is something not much discussed in any of the forums, or we do not read it. You can, the officer, the MOV forms, okay, by the way, why we are not aware of it is this is the officer related document. In fact, there are some writs which have been filed challenging the circular itself. जो law में लिखा नहीं है वो MOV forms का validity क्या होगा बोल के, but this is an internal process of the officers whenever the vehicle is intercepted. There are various MOV forms. I will give you a high level overview of it because we are not trying to detailedly discuss. There are 10 MOV forms. Broadly, whenever an officer is intercepting the vehicle, the person in charge of the document, I just want to clear myself. Am I audible to all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Okay. Yeah. So, whenever proper officer is intercepting the vehicle, he is first having the right to ask the person in charge to produce the documents. The person in charge has to produce the documents. If the documents are available, absolutely no issue. The documents are not available, then a statement would be recorded from the transporter, the form MOV1. Then he would issue an order for inspecting the goods, MOV02. The officer has 3 days time to complete the inspection and issue an order for it. He has a time, if he cannot complete it in 3 days, he can ask for another 3 days from the seeking time from the commissioner, that is by reporting in MOV03. By MOV03, he will issue a final report saying that this is what my observations and this is what the lapses in it, this is the penalty that needs to be paid. Now, if there is no lapses, he will issue MOV5 directly saying that, okay, everything is in order, vehicle can move. If there are lapses, he is issuing MOV5 and he says, okay, I am now detaining the vehicle and the goods. Now, the order for detention will be given in MOV06 and how much tax needs to be paid, he will give MOV07. That is section 129 subsection 3. The penalty. So that is the dangerous thing. Now, if you are paying the tax, again MOV05, it's a clean sheet. अच्छा आप गाड़ी निकाल के जा सकते हो, tax pay कर दिया. Now, if you have any objection, you want to you want to give a bank guarantee or anything, you can. The time limit is there 14 days. If you are not fulfilling and anything, the officer now wants to say that he has not paid the taxes, he has not furnished the bank guarantee, he will go for demand recovery proceedings and he will issue MOV09. Now, within that time limit, you pay the tax, fine. If it is not, then I have to now proceed for confiscation and auction. The confiscation happens in MOV10. So the MOV10, the confiscation happens in MOV10 and the order penalty happens under this. The tax and amount needs to be paid along with the penalty within 3 months. We know if it doesn't, the pay within 3 months, again, the bank attachment, all those things come up. So broadly, these are the procedures from e-way bill perspective on the MOV related aspects. So friends, the topic for the days we had on new returns, invoice and e-way bill, these were the topics we were to cover. And within the given time we could successfully complete all the things. I'm of course I'm little ahead of the time. Saturday, happily you can take rest if everything is complete. So we are open to the questions and over to the host. Okay, question from Vikas sir. Vikas sir, what will be the proper jurisdiction for appeal? Okay, now This is one area in GST again, which is still litigative, not settled. Why do I say litigative, not settled? Is माल मेरा अगर वेस्ट बंगाल से जा रहा है दिल्ली को जा रहा है, प्रॉपर मटेरियल नहीं है, proper invoice nahi hai, or the invoice value or the e-way bill discrepancy is there, some reason. Recipient is there in the Delhi, so IGST is my tax liability. Ideally, IGST to be assessed, but it is going say via UP. Officer in UP is intercepting the vehicle, and he says something is wrong. He is asking you to pay the tax. Does the officer in UP has a jurisdiction to ask this, or should he refer this matter to officer in Bengal or officer in Delhi? Unfortunately, because the vehicle is intercepted in the state of Uttar Pradesh, the officer will आपके नाम पे एक temporary registration कर देगा. It's like by force you are registered in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Because you are a registered person in Uttar Pradesh, you have some material in Uttar Pradesh which is not paid to tax. He brings it under 129. You say that, okay, you, whatever the levy you have levied is not right. I want to challenge this. When you say, I want to challenge this, what will happen is you have to file an appeal. Where do I file the appeal? माल दिल्ली को जा रहा है, इफ ऐसे दिल्ली का ऑफिसर को जाऊंगा तो दिल्ली में मेरा रजिस्टर है ही नहीं. आई गो टू माय ऑफिसर इन वेस्ट बंगाल ऑफिसर सेज लाइक मैं तो पकड़ा ही नहीं है आपको, लाइक मैंने चालान नहीं काटा, क्या अपील में लूंगा? देन यू हैव टू गो टू उत्तर प्रदेश. So Uttar Pradesh, he will say you are not a registered person here. How can you file an appeal? But yeah, one should know there is a temporary registration number which is given. Base is that you can file an appeal. Is that valid or not? Yes, it is still under the different views, but as of now, this is what happening. Hope that gives some clarity with us.
Yes, sir. This is a basically an issue which I want to raise on the platform. Yeah. Since I don't have any permanent establishment in the state of the UP, so how can I say that I am registered in UP? Number
Very
one.
True.
And number two, sir, what tax I will require to deposit in the state of the UP, whether it will be IGST UP or IGST Delhi or CGST AGST UP at the time of penal
CGST UP.
Yes, this is the main points, and the goods is never consumed in the state of UP.
So इसीलिए you can always.
But we have to deposit SGST.
You will find that the officers in the checkpost bordering areas are very active. पकड़ते रहते हैं because वो तो state का revenue बन गया.
Yes,
they are not much worried about regular tax because the regular tax is taken care by compensation says CAGR 14% मिलता रहेगा.
Yes. प्रमोद भैया, मैं जो ये क्वेश्चन रेज कर रहा हूँ ना भैया, ये बड़ा एक ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन है, क्योंकि ये प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है भैया, यूपी स्टेट में आप जब अपील करने जाओगे तो वहां पे आप CGST ST जमा किए हो और आपका वहां रजिस्ट्रेशन ही नहीं है, और जो आपका जुडिक्शन है कलकत्ता का, यहाँ पे वो बोलेगा पहले तो गाड़ी पकड़ा ही नहीं और आपने मेरे को कोई टैक्स जमा नहीं किया, तो अपील किस बात का कर रहे हो? तो ये एड्रेस मेरे हिसाब से कहीं ना कहीं गवर्नमेंट को करना चाहिए कि प्रॉपर जुडिक्शन जहां पे रजिस्टर्ड है वहां पे केस रेफर करके वहां पे उसका असेसमेंट और प्रोसीडिंग होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि ये प्रैक्टिकल से पॉसिबल नहीं है. एक कंपनी अगर कलकत्ता में रजिस्टर है, 20 जगह उसके कहीं लिटिगेशन खड़े हो गए, तो वो कहां कहां जाके अपील करता चलेगा? Am I right, Venu sir?
Absolutely, very true. So in fact this has come to the matter principal commissioner also, but yes, they do not want to touch this at this point till they get they are also looking for a solution for it.
Sir, why they will look for the solution? They are getting the revenue.
Exactly. So they are saying that they are looking for a solution. That's all. The right word.
But in the true spirit, they are not looking for the solution.
Agreed, sir. Right. Sir, these are the topics for the day जो दिया गया है. But if you have any questions related to this and not relating to this, to the extent of my best ability, I will try. If there is any question. If there is nothing, I would be happy that okay, my session was too good. There were no questions, or it was like over the board. So either of that.
भैया आपका अनम्यूट कीजिए। PD भैया you are not
audible. You
audible.
are speaking but आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही, पता नहीं.
You are not unmuted, PD भैया. You are not audible yet.
I think your speakers are not connected, sir. Something.
Yes. PD भैया डायरेक्ट कनेक्ट कर लीजिए. No. You are not audible.
Okay, finally one compliment. Okay, session was good. Thank you, Madhavi ji.
Madhavi ma'am, yes.
Thank you.
Sir, you are excellent, sir. That is the one of the compliment out of 30 participants. All are giving the same compliment, sir.
In fact, that is the humbleness of the Calcutta participants, and I would always love whenever I'm sharing, whenever I come here and share a lot of good friends here.
Hello.
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes, Via. Now you are audible.
Well, so I think there is no. I think no, there is no query as such from the participant.
No.
Well, then in that case, I will request Vikas. I'll request Vikas to have a formal vote of thanks to Venu sir for the wonderful deliberation. Thanks a lot, Venu sir. Please, Vikas.
Thank you, Via. I feel privileged to AC and session chairman PD Bhaiya for giving an opportunity to tender vote of thanks to our learned speaker, and I should say learned speaker of India, CA Venugopal sir. And sir, the way you explained each and every topic allotted to you in your that is very much excellent, and particularly such as GSTR 2A, 2B, e-way bill, e-invoicing, etc. in such a short time, and you have pointed out each and every thread of the topic, and I am sure that every participant enriches their knowledge out of your deliberation. Sir, as a token of love, just a second, I was saying, PD Bhaiya, please allow me to share my screen, Bhaiya.
Sir, you should be. I think you will be able to do.
I'm not able to share my screen right now.
You just say okay, and again you press share screen. I think you should be able to see it. And one thing I also love from the Calcutta sessions is on the mementos that I get from a different concept and different moments. I should definitely acknowledge for choosing and giving an e-memento.
Sir, you, sir, our humble request, kindly accept our e-memento depicted on the screen as a token of appreciation from our association side, and oblige once again for accepting this, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
And we will email this token to e-memento to you also.
Sure, sir. My pleasure. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I am sure that you will find a place in your library as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And PD Bhaiya, please take the session for the closing remarks, Bhaiya.
And this was definitely a wonderful session. This was really a wonderful session. And Venugopal sir has really explained each and every aspect of the compliance part or related all the returns and the e-way bill and e-invoice. So, and also he has taken up all the queries raised by the participants. So thanks to you, sir. And thanks to all the participants for participating in the session. Thank you.
Thank you all.
We are closing.